Hi, I'm an American citizen seeking political asylum in Europe. In 2005, I was poisoned with heavy metals used in the nuclear industry because I had become aware of a nuclear-related situation which could become the next 9/11. That is, the next attack on innocent lives, which would then inaugurate the next level of intensifications of police powers within our so-called democracies. Maybe the only thing that makes me different from millions of other Americans is my access to this particular nuclear secret. In other words, what is happening to me could and perhaps will happen to others. This is why I hope you'll be interested in my story. This is my story. My name is Deborah Baker. Columbus, Ohio is my hometown. I earned a bachelor's and a master's degree from New York University in politics. Since chasing after money is not my idea of fun, I didn't pursue a career in the U.S. government. It took the attacks of September 11th, 2001 to reawaken my interest in American politics. Returning to New York, I saw Mike Ruppert's video, Truth and Lies of 9/11, and soon became convinced that some people in our government were involved in these attacks. I talked to everyone I could about this possibility. I passed out deception dollars. I wrote a book review of Mike Ruppert's book, Crossing the Rubicon. I wanted to publish the review before the 2004 elections, but the Columbus Free Press finally consented to put it online only in January 2005. Meanwhile, I was getting involved in meetings about a possible new uranium enrichment plant in Piketon, Ohio. We found out illegal activity may be taking place at the plant, and after my concern with the 9/11 issue, I quickly could see the possible implications. I could see that there was possible danger to the public, which could be blamed on terrorists, while in fact the preparations were taking place under the watch of a government agency. I thought it might be possible to raise enough money to hire an expert on nuclear matters, and with this in mind, tried to schedule 1 or 2 lectures by the anti-nuclear activist Helen Caldicott in Columbus. She canceled the lectures, but the date we had arranged to hold the meetings, November 17th, 2005, was the first day I was poisoned. I was poisoned by something I ate from my refrigerator. I was living alone at the time, so it must have been intended for me. Earlier in 2005, I had noticed that someone had been entering my home while I was away. I also had some problems with the mail and emails, but I hadn't been threatened with bodily harm till then, so hadn't been unduly alarmed. I called the poison control hotline, which was extremely unhelpful. I had been very healthy and didn't have a regular doctor, so I called several up. 3 refused to help me. Finally, one doctor took a hair analysis. We discovered I had been poisoned with things like uranium, strontium, and cadmium, heavy metals used in the nuclear industry, which can cause cancer. But this doctor also declined to treat me, and finally I decided to seek asylum abroad. First I went to Switzerland. In my naivete, I thought Swiss neutrality meant I had a fair chance. On the contrary, neutrality to the Swiss means letting the underdog get whooped. Swiss doctors also refused to treat or even test me for poisoning, even after the Asylum Commission asked specifically for a Swiss report on my health. Unable to get such a report, my request for asylum was rejected. Only then did my doctor take not 1, but 2 hair analyses. One analysis of hair near my head, which was the growth from my year in Switzerland. The other analysis of the other end of my long hair which grew out of my head well before November 2005. You can see the results. I have more heavy metal poisoning after my year in Switzerland than I had when I left the US, and I had no heavy metal poisoning before November 2005. Kalium is potassium, which measures high among many people with a Western diet. It seemed Switzerland was not the place for me. Then I came to France. I sent some hair and food and medicine samples to be analyzed at a French laboratory. The French hair analysis results were very different from my previous hair analyses, one of which had only been taken a few months earlier. I never received the results of the food and medicine samples, despite my repeated phone calls and letters to the laboratory. I went to the French police with a food item that had caused a swelling in my lower spine. They made me get a letter from my doctor and one from their doctor, both of whom agreed that it looked like I could be suffering from heavy metal poisoning. Then the prosecutor wrote to me saying they couldn't pursue my complaint because no crime had been committed. The police report stated that I had been poisoned in the US, and that's no crime in France. So I returned to the police to say I was complaining about a poisoning that happened in France. They wrote a note to that effect, though it wasn't an official report. And I wrote my own note to the prosecutor, or the procureur, to that effect. But he wrote back in a letter dated the day before I had gone to the police the second time, the procureur saying again no crime had been committed.